Imagine if someone told you you needed to build a city for 55,000 people in just 2 months, and that it would need running water, electricity, telephones, hospitals, kitchens, rail service, and enough housing for every resident. It would be a massive undertaking, but that's exactly what they did for the 1913 Gettysburg Reunion, and they called it the Great Camp. The Great Camp stood just southwest of Gettysburg, sprawling along the Emmitsburg Road like a pop-up city built of brown tents. Now, calling it a campground doesn't really do it justice. It functioned like a small city, and it was a logistical marvel. It was a temporary home prepared for tens of thousands of aging veterans who would soon return, not as soldiers, but as old men chasing memories. The scale of the project was staggering. For 2 months, laborers transformed open farmland into functioning military encampment. New wells were drilled and water was pumped into towering tanks. It was then cooled by ice-packed coils and delivered by gravity to 32 water fountains scattered across the camp. On a hot July day, nothing would be more welcome than a cool drink of water. Initially, 5,000 tents were raised across 280 acres. It was a sea of canvas flapping in the summer breeze. Each tent could hold 12 men, but it was reduced to accommodate just 8, providing the veterans with space to stretch out and rest their weary bones. Inside, every man was given a cot, 2 blankets, a mess kit, a bucket for water, and lanterns were distributed to each tent. The Great Camp pulsed with energy and innovation. The Army Signal Corps laid over 200 miles of cable, wiring the company streets with 100 telephones so that the old soldiers could call home and let their family know that everything was okay. But also, 500 electric lights illuminated the grounds, allowing the veterans to navigate their way back to their tents at any hour of the day. A temporary railroad spur split the camp in half, and a platform was built to allow the trains to stop in the middle of the Great Camp so the aged veterans wouldn't have to travel all the way from the train station in the heart of Gettysburg. At the southern edge of the camp stood the Great Tent. It was part circus tent and part cathedral. It towered above the rest of the encampment and could hold between 12 to 15,000 people. It was the heart of the camp, where official ceremonies, speeches, and commemorations would take place. Between events, it could be sectioned off to host smaller regimental reunions. A wooden stage and lectern were built for the speaker. But there was also a catch. The Grand Reunion took place just before the invention of the loudspeaker. So, while the tent could hold thousands, it didn't guarantee that everyone could hear what was being said. From a modern perspective, one detail stands out. These men were camped in the sweltering July heat on the very ground where they had once duked it out with each other, without a single shower available. Each tent had a water basin, but towels and soap were not supplied. One can only imagine the body odor after a week under the sun and the collective bouquet of thousands of unwashed men. The smell must have lingered like ghosts on the battlefield. Of course, there's one very important question we have yet to answer. How do you feed 55,000 hungry Civil War veterans? The answer? You hire nearly 2,000 cooks, build 173 field kitchens, fire up 400 army ranges, and hope that nobody burns the coffee. But here's the remarkable part. The organizers didn't just feed the veterans, they actually planned the menu around their age. These weren't 20-year-old soldiers anymore. The average age was 72, so the meals were designed to be hearty, filling, and a little easier on the stomach. It was a very different menu from what they had during the Civil War. Back then, for breakfast, they would have hardtack, bacon, beans, coffee. For lunch, they would have hardtack, bacon, beans, and coffee. For dinner, you might be surprised to learn that they had hardtack, bacon, beans, and coffee. Now, what is hardtack, you might ask? Hardtack is made from flour, water, and a little pinch of salt. That's it. No butter, no sugar, and no flavor. Think of it as the world's first energy bar. if the energy bar hated you.
It tastes like feet.
Historians have joked that hardtack was better at breaking teeth than filling the stomach. Thankfully, by 1913, the camp food had improved considerably. Among the cooks were 90 bakers who fired up the ovens and soon had fresh bread baking. And that must have smelled wonderful and a wonderful welcome for the incoming veterans. These ovens were large enough to crank out 50,000 loaves a day. And just look at the size of them. But here's where it gets good. Check out the full menu. For breakfast, they had bacon, eggs, oatmeal, potatoes, fresh bread, fruit, and plenty of coffee. Dinner featured roast beef, roast mutton, chicken fricassee, mashed potatoes, vegetables, pudding, and iced tea. They also had baked beans, salmon salad, mac and cheese, and cakes for dessert. And on July 4th, to celebrate Independence Day, they had ice cream and cigars, because that's what victory tastes like. It's easy to overlook something as ordinary as the food, but the organizers didn't scrimp on the menu. The veterans could eat as much as they wanted and even go back for seconds. 50 years earlier, these men had eaten whatever they could carry in their haversack while on the march. Now they sat around the great camp sharing good quality food with old friends, and in many cases, former enemies. The war was over, and the menu proved it. Equally important to the food were the 90 latrines spread out across the great camp. These could accommodate 3,500 men at any given time. This was vital as the food contained a good deal of roughage designed to keep the men regular. The great camp had all the makings of a 1913 military bivouac, except this time the soldiers were no longer young recruits, but gray-haired veterans with canes and stories to tell. Considering their age and condition, health services were critical. The Red Cross established a hospital and 14 aid stations spread throughout the camp. Every detail was considered. In fact, the organizers even shipped 500 coffins just in case. But thankfully, very few of them were needed. But today, if you visit the quiet fields of Gettysburg, it's hard to imagine that an entire tent city once stood there. Here's the camp map overlaid with a satellite image of the area so you have a better idea of where it once stood. Now the tents, they're long gone. The railroad spur has been removed, the kitchens, the water fountains, hospital, and the great tent have all disappeared. It took 2 months to build the great camp, but it vanished into history much faster. Today, only the photographs remain. But for one remarkable week, these fields echoed once more with the voices of the men who changed the course of American history. This is the Old Soldier Show. They paid the price of admission 50 years ago. If you're interested in learning more about this incredible event, please check out my book, The Old Soldier Show, Stories from the 1913 Gettysburg Reunion. It's filled with encounters of former enemies meeting each other again on the very battlefield where they had tried to kill each other. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.